The doors to the Viridian Tea House are open once more. Hello, everyone, and happy Halloween. This is one of my favorite days of the year. Actually, it's my all-time favorite day of the year. And also, too, Halloween is not just one day for me. It's 365 days, but I digress. Well, I've got a trio of spooky books to review, so without further ado, let's get to it. So the first book is actually a graphic novel, and I flew through it. In fact, I purchased it at Mile High Con a couple weeks ago, flew through it, loved it. And I want other people to read this too because it was terrifying. But it is Behind These Eyes. And it's written by Peter Wacks and illustrated by Chaz Kemp of the Echelon. I had to make sure I said that right, the Echelon series. But yes, this terrified me. So I'll just read the back of it for you. A fractured psychotherapist lives a double life as he cures minds by day and witnesses the horrific killings his body commits by night, with his mind trapped in a cage while the other feeds its unquenchable bloodlust. Jacob has a serial killer that lives deep inside him, a dark second personality that tortures him every day. The killer's game is simple. There are 4 rules which Jacob must follow. Break them, and he will have to watch someone die at his own hands. The first 3 Jacob can manage, but the 4th he cannot. And actually, I'm going to read the 4. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. 1, if I get too close to someone, they die. 2, if I tell someone about the other, they die. 3, if I try to die, the other takes over and kills the most innocent person it can find. And 4, if I wait too long without choosing someone to die, the other chooses for me. So just showing you a couple of the illustrations, but this was a terrifying, deliciously terrifying graphic novel. And of course, the end has a twist, like you do, but I really, really enjoyed the story. And, for a moment, I thought, okay, well, maybe it's just split personalities, schizophrenia, what have you. No, it's a complete separate entity, is the serial killer. It's not a figment of Jacob's imagination. No, it's thinking on its own, which makes it that much more terrifying. So, Behind These Eyes by Peter Wacks, illustrations by Chaz Kemp. I give it Viridian Tea House's 5 pots of tea. Thank you so much for scaring the crap out of me. Thank you. Just thank you. Oh. So the second book, I have a little story to tell. I met this author many years ago. It was at a convention in Jackson, Mississippi, I want to say. And he had self-published his first book called Traumatized. And we got to talking and we found out we were kindred spirits, and I ended up reading Traumatized. Oh my God, there's horror, and then there's this author who took it to a whole different level. Well, make a long story short, he and I became fast and thick friends. We call each other spooky brother and sister. And the more books that he put out, the more terrified I was. If you are into werewolves, and I should have brought my copy down for this video, but if you're into werewolves, there's a book that he wrote called Corinthia Falls. If you can find a copy of it, do yourself a favor and buy it and read it. And let me know what you think. It is one of my all-time favorite werewolf books, just bar none. But this particular book, I really did enjoy because while it was terrifying, there were also some funny moments too. I liked that nice mixture of the two. So I'm talking about The Night the Jack-o'-lantern Went Out by Alexander S. Brown. Now, from what I understand, Alex isn't writing anymore, but he is known throughout social media as the bookworm of the damned. He reviews everything horror. So if you are on social media, look up Bookworm of the Damned and just throw yourself into Alex's world. And I will post all of his links on the video once this is done. But this particular book, I'll just read the back of it for you. Halloween, a holiday that inspires memories, excitement, and a little bit of fear in everyone. A single day where all the ghosts and ghoulies come out to play, and sometimes it's hard to tell which of the creepy crawlies are human and which ones truly rise from beyond seeking unsuspecting souls. Sorry, it took me a minute. Author Alexander S. Brown explores all the wonderfully terrifying possibilities Halloween has to offer in The Night the Jack-o'-lantern Went Out. Brown delivers new tales of terror in this collection laced with just enough nostalgia to make us all hope Halloween comes sooner and stays far enough away that the monsters don't get us. What I thought was really cool was, let me make sure I get it right. What I thought was really cool was that the stories are divided by decades. So you've got 3 stories set in the 30s, 3 stories set in the 40s, 4 set in the 50s, and 3 set in the 60s. So none of this is like modern time, but it like the back said, it does add a little bit of nostalgia, which I really did kind of enjoy. Out of all the stories, my favorite was, let me see if I can get to it. Yeah. My favorite was Old Souls. Basically, it deals with a dumb dinner. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically where during Halloween, there is a dinner that is set with extra chairs for those who have departed. And the food is not the greatest, but it is to welcome those who have gone beyond the veil to return for this one night and just be honored. Except with Old Souls, it takes a horrific turn, which only Alexander Brown can do. So I don't know if there are any copies still available on Amazon or what have you. Maybe Alex has copies, I'm not sure. But if you find yourself staring at a copy of The Night the Jack-o'-lantern Went Out, you owe it to yourself to get a copy. Even if you're not really into spooky stories, there's, again, like the back says, there's enough nostalgia, just enough to kind of make you curious to open the pages and just dive right in. So The Night the Jack-o'-lantern Went Out by Alexander S. Brown gets, of course, 5 pots of tea from Viridian Tea House. And, you know, this also falls into the category of, I had this book for years and I'm just now reading it. So Alex, if you're watching this, my apologies for not reading it sooner. I'm truly, truly sorry. And yet I'm so glad that I read it. It's so you. And I'm so glad that you and I are still good friends. And I'm glad that you still embrace horror because it's you. It really is. So thank you so much for writing this book. Truly, it was a delight to read. Now, the third book, there's a story behind this too. Not so much the author, but more of more about his writing. So I discovered this author years and years and years ago. It was, oh goodness, it was a book called Ghost Written. And I liked how he took, it was basically a full circle of stories where all the stories were connected by a person or a place or a thing. And it came full circle back to the beginning. And you're like, oh, that was really kind of cool. Unfortunately, and then I also read another one of his books called Number 9 Dream, which had that same kind of loop, surreal, dreamlike feeling. Unfortunately, I stopped reading him for whatever reasons until I discovered this one book, and I'll just show it to you right now. It's Slade House, which, from what I understand, is an offshoot story of a larger book called The Bone Clocks, which I will be purchasing very soon. This book equally terrified and fascinated me. I didn't know what was going on at first. And then when it finally sunk in, I was like, oh my God. I'll put it to you like this. After delving into the book and then stopping and going to bed, I had the worst nightmares. The next day I was just dragging because I was like, oh God, I I I didn't get any sleep because I kept dreaming about this damn book. So what am I talking about? I'll read the back of it for you. Keep your eyes peeled for a small black iron door. Down the road from a working class pub, along a narrow brick alley, you just might find the entrance to Slade House. A stranger will greet you by name and invite you inside. At first, you won't want to leave. Later, you'll find that you can't. Every 9 years, the residents of Slade House extend an invitation to someone who's different or lonely. A precocious teenager, a recently divorced policeman, a shy college student. But what really goes on inside? For those who find out, it's already too late. Spanning decades, leaping genres, and barreling toward an astonishing conclusion, Slade House is a haunted house story as only David Mitchell could imagine it. Truer words never spoken. That's basically Slade House. It attracts a certain kind of person every 9 years, and they're invited in. Now, for those 8 years, there's nothing there. It's just an empty spot in the alleyway. But on that 9th year, the house appears, and it draws that one person to it. They're invited in. They engage in whatever, and then they find that they can't leave. And then the terror begins as the two residents take over. It chilled me. It absolutely chilled me. But I noticed that with the different stories, more and more information was coming out, not only about the house, but about the residents and the two who upkeep the house. Till at the very end, and it is quite an ending, I got it, and I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't scared, but I was fascinated. I was truly fascinated with not only the story, but the characters. And like I said, since this is an offshoot of his book, The Bone Clocks, I really want to read it to delve into this world even more. As soon as I finished it, I handed it to my boyfriend. I'm like, no, you need to read this. You really do need to read this. And he read it, and he went through the exact same thing. Although very few things scare him as much as they scare me. He's stronger than me. I don't know. But he thoroughly enjoyed reading Slade House. So it's one, and I couldn't stop praising it on social media, and I didn't want to give too much of it away until I actually did my review. But if you are into strange and unusual stories involving two beings that for all intents and purposes are brother and sister, with ghosts, with memories, with patterns, with repetition, and with a story that, like I said, will thrill you, fascinate you, and scare you, Slade House by David Mitchell is the way to go. And it gets 5 pots of incredibly spooky ass tea. 5 pots of spooky tea. And you know, if Mr. Mitchell is watching this video, thank you so much. I loved your work ever since Ghost Written, and you are one of those authors where you can write polka instructions and I'm going to read it. And what's great is rediscovering an author and then knowing that they have like 20 books out there, and it's like, oh my gosh, I get to read all this stuff. And even the ones that I've already read, because it's been so long, it'll be like reading a whole new book again. I don't know if you guys ever go through that, but I do. But David Mitchell is definitely going to be part of our library. So thank you so much for scaring the crap out of me with Slade House. All right, so before I get to the tea portion, so for those of you who follow me on social media and also follow the YouTube videos, I did have a contest where if you emailed me your favorite kind of tea, then you would be entered into a raffle, and it would be a free mug of tea and a free bag of tea from my company. Well, sadly enough, only one person sent an email. So that one person is going to get not the white mug that I had shown on the photos, but actually one of the Viridian Tea Company Tea Geek mugs with artwork by Brittany Lewis. Love you, Brittany. And also a bag of tea, and I will be reaching out to that person asking them if there are any allergies or whatever. But congratulations to author L.R. Braden for being the only person who took part in the contest and won. So thank you so much. I truly do appreciate the fact that you took the time to send the email. Thank you. And like I said, I will be reaching out to you later this week, and then I'll be shipping it out probably next weekend. So thank you again. So the tea for today is one of my own, and it's one of my spookier teas. It is Elmwood. This was actually the second tea blend I'd made for my tea company back when I really didn't know what I was doing. So the story behind Elmwood, well, first, the ingredients of Elmwood, it's Assam tea, which is a black tea, hibiscus, and elderberries. The story behind the tea is years ago when I lived in Memphis, Tennessee, I was a photographer for Elmwood Cemetery. If you ever find yourself visiting Memphis or you live in Memphis, go visit Elmwood. It is not just a place where they bury the dead. And actually, they don't call them the dead in Elmwood. They call them the residents. I think it's like 80,000 residents so far. The number might have gone up. But it is a sprawling, lush, beautiful area. So every year they choose a different photographer to just take photos of the seasons, of the statues, of the nature, the flora, fauna, what have you. So in 2015, I think I was the photographer in residence, and I thought it's very much an honor. And I just remember driving through the cemetery and just finding different spots and taking pictures and just enjoying the peace and quiet. And one thing that I noticed was I always felt at peace whenever I visited Elmwood. It's like the problems and the stresses of the world were put behind me for an hour or 30 minutes or what have you. It was so relaxing, so restful. You forgot that people were buried there. I remember that they had a Halloween party there, and they would have other events at the cemetery, which I think they still do, tours and all that kind of stuff. One of the coolest stories that I still love telling people it was one time when I was driving through the cemetery, just wanting to find a spot to take pictures. And I remember I turned to my right, and weaving in between the tombstones was this blood red fox. Well, I stopped. I was only doing like 10 miles an hour. The fox stopped, and we stared at each other. And I swear, that fox didn't just look at me, it looked at me. And I felt like I had gotten the thumbs up. And I think I broke the staring contest first. And I was just kind of like, why do I get the feeling that this fox was just like, you're okay. You're okay. And so I drove off and I did my thing, and then I left. I never saw that fox again. I always wondered if that was truly a fox or if that was one of the residents. I know that some people have visited Elmwood and they experience different situations, seeing people that were dead or what have you. But I'll always remember that fox. That fox was beautiful, and I'd never seen a fox that red before. And it didn't scare me. It just, I felt like I passed a test I didn't even know I was a part of. So, but at the end of my year of being a photographer in residence with them, I wanted to make a tea blend as my way of saying thank you. So I chose the ingredients that are full of life, that are full of taste. Because, like I said, whenever you visit Elmwood, it just doesn't feel like a cemetery. It felt like a place to be alive in a strange way. So, in my lovely mug portraying the witches of the craft, we are the weirdos, mister, I have a lovely cup of Elmwood. So, I raise my witchy teacup to all those who are watching today, all those who will be engaging in trick-or-treating or going to parties today. Here's to you. Always so good. You know, in talking with different customers and patrons and whatever, and it's interesting to listen to people to find out what they like and what they don't like. Well, I've noticed that with hibiscus, and I tell people this, some people just absolutely adore the taste, and some people think it's just too tart. Well, I've noticed that in blending that hibiscus with the elderberry and the Assam, which Assam is an Indian black tea, like I said, and it is kind of earthy and mild, slightly malty. It actually tones down the hibiscus just enough to where you're not like doing this like if you ate a lime or a lemon or something. Plus, this is a really good blend to drink if you're feeling under the weather, or if you've got a little sniffle or a cold, or you just want to boost your immune system. Elderberry has one of the highest levels of antioxidants, and plus hibiscus, and tea is just generally good for you anyway. But aside from all of that, this is a lovely tea blend to enjoy. As the days get shorter and the temperatures get cooler, and you're sitting in your house watching TV, or like tonight watching The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, which I think my boyfriend and I are going to be doing tonight. This lovely cup of Elmwood tea is the perfect way to enjoy a Halloween night. That is truly, truly good. And what's interesting is that even though I've had many, many cups of this tea, it's always kind of the same in terms of the flavors. You have the hibiscus and then the elderberry, smooth it down, and then you have the earthy Assam to kind of finish it out. So it's literally just it's kind of a silky feeling. I've had this both hot and iced, and really I like it both ways. So Elmwood tea, made in the memory of Elmwood Cemetery in Memphis, Tennessee. That's lovely. Well, oh, okay, time for meditation. I was just checking my timer. So, for those of you who are new to watching my videos, I always end with a breathing meditation. The way that I set it up is you find yourself in a comfortable position, either seated, standing up, maybe walking around in a forest today. I mean, it's perfect for it. And then if you have a cup of tea or some water, that just makes it even better. We start with a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth twice. Then you can either close your eyes or you can softly focus on an object in front of you. Just breathe for a couple of counts, and then I will end it with taking another breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then we wrap it up with a sip of our tea and our water. There's no special thought you need to think of. during the meditations. However, if you find yourself caught up in your thoughts, just gently tell yourself thinking and let the thought go by and just focus on your breathing. So without further ado, let's begin. And now, as we end this meditation, take one deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Slowly open your eyes or allow your eyes to focus. And enjoy a final sip. Delicious. Well, once again, I wish each and every one of you a happy and safe Halloween. Much thanks to the authors, Peter J. Wacks, illustrator Chaz Kemp, David Mitchell, and Alexander S. Brown. And to all the folks at Elmwood Cemetery in Memphis, Tennessee, I miss you guys. I miss driving through that cemetery. So until next time, take care of yourself and each other. Get all the really good candy tonight. Raise your witchy tea mug high, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye for now.